Dun, dun, dun. Mhm. Test. Testing out the audio. Hello. Test. Testing out the audio. Hello. Test. Testing out the audio. Am I connected? Not connect. Ah, that makes sense. I don't have my headphones plugged in. Test. Testing out the audio. Am I connected? Not connect. Ah, that makes sense. I don't have my headphones plugged in. Test. Well, that was a bit weird. Do I get some? Huh. Well, I guess this should be working. Hopefully. I'm trying out streaming for the first time. I kind of just want to practice speaking, I guess. But it also is a good way for me to, you know, develop the game, speak about it, and I'll probably do much better work on a live stream than I do regularly. So currently I'm developing weapon attributes, which are gonna be these randomized things that make weapons feel different each time you play by basically adding a good and a bad thing to a weapon. So for example, you deal more damage, but also have a slower attack speed. That's something that I have been coding, but you can see that I've already made some attributes, but I will be deleting most of them because when I started, I first made them do only positive things, but it didn't really affect the way you play. I want the attributes to force you to play in different ways and reward you for it. So currently there are only two valid attributes, I'd say. The first one is, let's see, first one is heavy, which increases your damage but decreases your attack speed. And there is the other version of it called light, which increases your attack speed and decreases your damage. When I play the game, you can see that currently I actually have different attributes. Let's restart. I have hefty, which increases the damage by 15%, but also slows down the attack speed. And as the result, the attacks are a bit slower than normally, but deal more damage. And the other attribute I have is longer range, but it sacrifices the attack's size, so it's harder to hit enemies. So it's kinda gonna be bad when you have these hordes of enemies rushing you, and you know, you have these thin attacks that don't do much against that. However, I'm not really here to explain things. I have already written down most of the stuff for devlog, so I'm here just to do some coding and do it on live stream that hopefully works and I don't regret it. So I ended up on making heavy, and then I made I made long, which increases the range on the drawback of having lower attack size, making things harder to hit. So the next property I want to go for is probably knockback. What I'm gonna do is weapon will have stronger knockback, but will have weaker stun. It will last less time, and then vice versa, where the stun is stronger but the knockback is weaker. This small change, but I think it will be pretty cool, especially when combined with some other properties that I will get into maybe later. However, most of this code is kind of repetitive, that's why I'm doing it on stream. So I'm just gonna use this as a reference. I'm calling it knockback. I don't know what other name would be great for something that pushes back enemies away. Uh, Knockback, push. I kind of want these prefixes you put in front of a weapon. So for example, when a sword has a very large attack size, it's massive, you know, thick, broad. You can see that in code here. It's probably kind of confusing, but you know, it doesn't matter all that much. So I'm not probably gonna think up names on this stream just because I don't feel like it. So I'm gonna ignore this part and I'm just gonna make it work. First of all, we can see the values and the code is immediately a bit different because each value contains the amount of knockback it will increase and also the amount of stun it will decrease in the vector, you know, on x and y axis. And based on the weapon attribute quality, which it can be basic, rare, or sharpened, which I'll probably have to rename because that's a shitty name, uh, it affects how much the weapon stat is actually affected. By how much. So now we have vectors. When making code, it's very important to have it consistent because that is the way you don't regret your life choices. Now I'm also not gonna really struggle with the whole balancing act because balancing this stuff can be a bit confusing. And I hope that this computer is not screaming into the microphone. Doesn't matter, I guess. Well, if I'm gonna make an extreme knockback, I'll have to make... Huh. The issue is that when I'm increasing knockback, I can't just increase its speed, I also have to prolong its duration. So before I do anything, I have to go into maybe attack data. And when no, not attack data. Oh yeah. Well, when I'm increasing knockback, currently I'm just increasing its speed. So it pushes the enemies farther, but I also need for it to push enemies longer. So I'm not really gonna complicate it that much. So let's say when a knockback is 100% stronger, it's gonna push away enemies 100% farther. So I guess the math in my head, I'm actually not sure if this is correct or not. I'm gonna increase the speed by a half of the increased percent and the duration by the half, and that should be good enough. So let's do that. Attribute knockback divided by this. Oh, does it matter? Like there shouldn't be a really difference, but I'm just gonna do this so it's easier for me to read it in future. So I know why I edit that divide by 2 stuff. Alright, so the knockback should be fixed because the stun duration and knockback duration is very important because during it the enemies can't move, cannot attack, so it's very important because if I have shortened the stun, the enemies will be for less time stunned and therefore maybe they wouldn't even be able to be stun locked, which would suck. It would suck. So prolonging the knockback duration is a very important part to all of this. And this will be extreme, but I'll go with the values I have pre-written here. So this will be the increase of knockback and the stun. I'm not gonna be too harsh on it. I'm just gonna, let's say, 0.15. Then let's make another vector, 0.5, 0.35, and last vector, which is gonna be 1 and 0.45. When I delete this, it should work now. Nice. Nice, that's great. Now I have to just rewrite some of these parts. the X quality that will be added to knockback, and then decrease the stun. Great. Oh, that's basically this code done. It should be working. I'll also have to rewrite this description so it's shown properly in your attributes. Now I would normally go for the name, so what I'm gonna do is that I'm just gonna set up this so I can rewrite it later when I feel like it. And let's call it for now knockback 1, knockback 2, knockback 3. So I just know what stage it is, and then I can rewrite all of this shit. Names, int. I'm basically converting the enum quality to an int, so to 0, 1, or 2. And based on that, I'm picking items from an array, so it's actually very simple code. It's just kind of annoying to write and sort of looks weird to read, but overall it's actually pretty nice to look at. Int quality, kind of hard to write, but I won't be needing this, I think. I'll need the x value, knockback, and then how did I approach the second attribute? I just put a dash. Alright. Once again, values, I'll get the right quality value out of it. I'm gonna need y times 100 because I want it to be converted to percents, not decimal numbers. And just add percent stun. It's basically everything, and when I want to make it vice versa, so the stun is longer but the knockback shorter, all I really have to do, this is probably not the best approach, but it's the simplest one, I'll just fucking duplicate it, rename this, let's call it stun. This will put out some errors because I will have to, this will put out some errors because now I have to delete old code that already has this name. But for now, let's pretend like there are no issues. Let's rename this. Great. Values, everything should be correct about this one. I'll just, I'm not gonna make the stand last 2 times longer, that would be too strong. So I can probably keep these values. Nah, I'm gonna make 0.2, 0.4, and 0.6. That might be too strong, but I'll see. And knockback, I don't want to decrease it that much. I also realized that I have forgotten make these values negative. So they would actually increase the stun while increasing knockback. That's not something that I want. We can keep these values here. The stun duration will be much shorter, but I hope that the knockback duration will make up for it. So the values are correct, the names are correct. I'll have to rename all of this. Works also switch this up. This is gonna be stun, and this is gonna be knockback, and also switch this. It's a very simple it's a very simple code. I don't know if there's a better, there's probably a better way to go around just copying it and rewriting some parts, but this is the simplest way to do it right now, and there's no real reason for me to complicate it. I won't be adding much properties or much attributes until I'm fully sure that everything works just the way I want it to work. Alright, so I'll delete an old script. It's gonna be called weapon stun. I'm really annoyed by this compiling, but I just have to live with it, I just have to live with it. I'm gonna be honest, my voice isn't doing so great with all of this talking, but I'll be fine. Now that this is set up, oh, it actually should be working, so I'm just gonna edit into. Did I make some change? Or yeah, probably forgot to save. But I'm gonna need to go into weapon attribute generator, and add in those attributes. So let's just call knockback and stun. You can see that I'm temporarily disable the other properties just because uh, they are not doing what they should be. Yeah, kind of a weird sentence. Let's see. So right now we have a knockback one weapon and stun one weapon. I really need to fix so those stats don't contradict themselves. When you get a knockback, you shouldn't get a stun also. But currently I'm not making something like that. But I can see that the spear actually works. There's more damage, slower attack speed, more knockback, less stun, less attack. Oh, that's once again contradiction. So longer knockback apparently. Why does it feel like the knockback is actually... Oh, I just realized I fucked up. Nah, alright. I have done a very weird thing. It's actually kind of crazy that I realized this so soon, but when I'm multiplying the knockback speed, let's say it's at number 10, then I multiply it by 1.2, basically increasing it by 20%. But when I divide the 1.2, it becomes 0.6, so um, I'm taking the speed 10 and I'm multiplying it by a decimal number of 0.6, decreasing it by 60 fucking percent. So what I'm gonna have to do is I have to approach this number as a 1.2f. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna remove the 1 from it, so I just have the decimal 0.2. I'm gonna divide that decimal and then add it back into the 1. The question is there a better way to do this? Let's just write it in code and I'll see. This is that knockback speed equals knockback speed times attribute mode at knockback. How about... Why doesn't it autocomplete? Did I write something wrong? I don't know. And I'm gonna need to take this value, remove 1 from it. 1 plus... This is a really stupid code. Take this, divide it by 2f. And I feel like that should work. We have 1 plus, if that would be, we take 0.2, convert it to 0.2, divide it, and the result should be 1.1. And that should work. And sometimes the calculation I make, I'm just thinking there must be a better way to do it, but that's probably the way I chose the logic of the code. If I just had the decimals saved in the modifiers, I wouldn't really have to care about this part. But I prefer having the decimals here. I just have to leave a note for myself because I'll be confused as hell. Um, take... I'll just leave a note of what the code actually does. It basically x plus 1 takes 1.2f, removes the 1 from it, divides it by 2f, which results in 1.1f. I guess yeah, that works, I guess. I'm thinking, what if the attributes would be actually 0.8? Let's make a note. 1 plus 1.f minus 1 divided by 2f equals what? It would result in a 0.2, so 0.9f. Yeah, it works. Let's go. Actually, let's just test it out before I celebrate. There's some weird structure I have in this code. It's kind of getting convoluted. I think that's the word. I'm not sure. So we have, whoa. Okay, the sword. What the fuck? The, the sword is behaving very weirdly. What the fuck? Did I break something? Hefty. Like, what is up? The sword animation feels really terrible with the slow attack speed. I'm not I'm not really sure why. Let me check the stream. Seems like it's working. And now it works better. No, it's actually kind of shit. Well, I'll probably have to think some other approach to making the attack speed work, because this looks shit. I'll probably have to generate more frames during the animations, and then instead of decreasing the size, I will have to increase it. I'm kinda scared that will fuck up the animation. Well, it will make the files of the animations larger, but not by that much. Nah. Well, I'll just make a quick note. It's weird that I didn't notice it before. I'm thinking that maybe the issue is with the lower FPS I have during the stream and such. But we'll see. But currently I'll just make a note of it. You can see that there is a lot of stuff written down here. I have quite a lot on my plate. So let's just add attack speed is behaving weirdly. Man, what the fuck are you loading? Need to scale up the animation so there is more frames, and instead of decreasing the animation speed, instead increase. And I feel like that should solve the issue. However, the question is, how will the animation behave if I double the speed of a double slowed down animation? It's quite a weird sentence. And it will also make it very annoying for me to create those animations. Damn. Well, I guess I could have the normal version of the animation and then the slowed down version of the animation, and I would just export the slowed down. And I would have still the normal for a reference. That could work. These are some weird issues to have. Alright. I don't really have to care about that right now. Let's just test out the knockback. Knockback one. Why am I getting such shitty stats? Why is it always knockback one? Did I mess up something? Or what? Knockback one, knockback two, upper, names, quality. Oh, the quality should be lowercase. That's a fuck up on my side. Because when it's a higher case quality with a uh, uppercase Q, it's taking from the current quality this object has instead of the quality I'm inputting through the method as a parameter, and that's kind of fucking up how this code works or behaves. The same issue is here. Like, does it do bad stuff or not? I'm actually not sure right now because I haven't noticed it until now. Quality, 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 quality. I also need the long attribute. And I already can see how many issues I'm gonna have with this one. Oh, I'll just make myself a note. Weapon attribute. Get description where the fuck it is. Am I blind? Ah, here it is. I'll just leave a note for myself so I don't fuck it up later. Make sure to use parameter quality that variable. Well, hopefully that should fix the issue later. I hope. What next? Yeah, I would like to test out the new attributes. I just have to wait for the compile. We are back at it, and now we have a stun tree, so the knockback should be much weaker, but the stun should be much stronger. Let's see. Oh, those massive weapons are so weird. I'll probably have to increase their pickup range. Let's make another note that I'm gonna get annoyed about. Or actually, let's just fix it straight up. I'm solving so many issues, but you can at least see what developing is like. You just see an issue and you should probably go immediately stray away from what you are doing right now and just fix it. So here we are, the calculation of the pickup. I'm gonna make a constant out of it so it's easier. Work it private, const float, pickup range. And by default, it's float 2. But I will have to increase the pickup range by the attribute. Do I have access to attribute mode? And increase it by the size. And I'll leave myself a note here. Pickup range should be increased when the size of the weapon is increased too. Hopefully that works. However, did I want to do something else? Yeah, I actually wanted to test out the knockback. On the other hand, it seems like it's coding. I should probably also debug the values just to be sure. Stun. Why is it always stun? Oh, 100% knockback. Let's see. Yeah. I'll probably have to make the knockback feel a bit different so it slows over time. But for now, I don't really have to care about that. It would just feel much better. That working. Damn. However, it seems like the knockback is working. We have a massive spear. The range is weaker, but I must say Massive Spear is kind of interesting weapon to use. Especially, I'm kind of doing this as a meme, to be honest. I really like the idea that you just throw this massive weapon at somebody. It's just so funny to me. Light, hefty, broad. There are so many contradictions in these attributes right now. Obviously, that will be fixed once I'm done coding those attributes. Colossal. Yeah, that attack speed is just crazy. It's... What the... Yeah. I knew that messing with the attack speed will be an issue. I just didn't expect it to be such an issue. It's weird because it looked better in the actual build. I guess I'll just test it in a build. I know that I'm sidetracking after sidetrack after sidetrack, but there are just some things I need to test out. But now my computer is probably screaming into the microphone. It's ventilating for its life, so I'm kind of sorry about that. Hopefully it will shut up soon, because it's annoying. It's annoying me too. Huh. Let's see. We have, yeah, the spear. Demonstrate. Yeah, it loses its motion. So yeah, however, the solution should be kind of simple enough. It will be kind of just annoying to implement. But right now, the heavy... Damn, my notebook is fighting for its life right now. I just hope the microphone doesn't really pick it up. If it does, I'll have to find some solutions to it. Let's just do other properties. I already have a list of the positive and a bad side of every attribute, so I'll just follow it. There's no reason to do it from my mind. More damage, less move. Higher attack speed, less damage, more movement, more recoil. I actually have a document. I won't be showing this document on screen because it's my game design document, and I'll rather avoid showing it for now because it will contain some spoilers towards what I will be doing and towards even the story and such. So I will just open it on my other screen, which is just my tablet, and I'll use it as a reference. So give me a minute. And yeah, I have recently made game design document, and I must say, I really recommend making it. It gave me a really clear look, much clearer vision of what I'm doing actually. And it also kind of motivates me because now it feels like this larger task, so it's much easier to do these small things and small improvements. They are not as daunting because you realize there is much more waiting for you. So anyways, now I have the attributes in front of me, so I can get straight to coding. Range size, stun, knockback, damage, attack speed, we already have done those. So the next thing is gonna be quite simple. It's gonna be increasing finisher damage while decreasing normal attacks damage. Basically, finishers do more damage and attacks that are not finishers will do less damage, you know? It's kind of a weird attribute, but I feel like it's gonna be used a bit. Once again, I'm gonna just reuse this. I should probably use a reference. There's no reason to write it from scratch once again. And this time I probably won't need to go rewrite other code. You can copy this. I actually have no idea how am I going to call these prefixes. There's just gonna be so many of them. Alright. And the values should be This is gonna be kind of hard to balance, but let's increase the finish damage by 0.2, 0.4. Point, 0.2, 0.4. And then decrease this by... I don't want to decrease the normal damage by a lot. So what I'm gonna do is just 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. It's still quite a lot, but not that much, I feel like. What's the issue? Yeah, I forgot to delete this. That's solved. I also have to use the X quality here. Finisher attacks deal. I will have to find better ways to show the information of what attribute actually does. But for now, I'm just doing a text. Plus value int quality percent finisher damage dash, and do the same stuff, values int quality at y times 100% percent normal or normal regular. Let's just call it a regular damage. It's gonna be kind of hard to explain, but I guess this should work. Regular works. If weapon that is finisher, how am I gonna do this? Yeah, I'm just gonna do mod.damage plus equals values and quality. And I'm gonna ask before that if weapon that is finisher question mark. If it's a finisher, I'm gonna use the X value. If not, then I'm gonna use the Y value. And that's kind of everything, to be honest. And then if I want to flip it around, this is some weird code, to be honest. Uh, let's just go with it. Then I'll duplicate this. I'm making a lot of spaces here, so it's easier for me to distinguish between the classes. Let's call it regular damage. Let's copy that and replace all of this stuff. What we are also gonna do is flip these values. Now, I feel like I shouldn't buff the regular damage by such a huge amount. So I'm just gonna do 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. And you have to realize that buffing these values is really strong because you are mostly using the regular attacks. It's not rare to use finishers, you'll do it quite often, especially when they are buffed. But now with this value, there is basically no reason to do finishers because they do less damage. And your normal attacks just do a lot more and you can be a lot more aggressive with them. So let's decrease the finisher damage by not such a great amount, not 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, but let's do 0.15, 0.3, and 0.45. That should be good enough, I hope. As I said, balancing this will be an issue, but it doesn't need to be super balanced, it just needs to affect the gameplay and the way you will play your game by, some amount. It really just needs to change how you play with the weapon. Alright, well, I also need to change this finisher damage. As I mentioned, this is a lot of kind of boring code. But this is the fastest approach and the most scalable approach I can do. It's really optimized, it's a really clean code. It just fucking works, you could say. Hold on, I check if the stream works. But my second screen is currently acting like I punched it or something. Seems like the stream is working. I just noticed that actually some people wrote stuff in the comments. That's kinda cool. For people wondering, I have been making games since about 2020 when I was in a quarantine, and probably a lot of people got into game development because of this guy, this person, and that's Danny. I really liked his Off the Sticks devlogs. They really inspired me, so I kinda got into Unity. And I got as a quite a beginner. I didn't know how to code anything, so I've been kind of just coding for the past 5 years, 4 years. Now I'm even in university where I study coding, computer science, whatever. So it's kind of cool. This is kind of my not every day, but a lot of what I do is actual coding. Anyways, what I was doing. That should work, that should work. I'll also have to change the description. Regular damage. Regular damage. Oh no. And I just realized I probably forgot to put it into the generator. One thing I must say, this code is absolutely crazy, you know? The attributes and their quality will scale over time as you play the game, by which I mean that um, you progress and the amount of attributes that spawn on a weapon and their quality increases. And I made this very weird code that I'm very proud of because it's very compact. And basically I put a value and based on it, it generates the amount of attributes and their quality. And I also I made it really simple for me to add new attributes and to remove them by just writing down the names here, and then I guess add the attributes to weapon by this simple thing which basically gets the type of the class and adds it on a weapon. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense right now, but it's generally a simple code. So I'm gonna add the finisher damage and regular damage. Finisher damage, regular, yeah, that should work. And yeah, actually, I haven't answered the question. Uh, I have started this game about 4 months ago, 5 months ago. However, this is kind of a rework or a remastered of my old project that I actually started this YouTube channel with, which was about 3 years ago, I think. So this game has been a long time in development, and basically a lot of things that I have learned and that I'm doing right now is from this single fucking project. So that's kind of cool. Let's see if those attributes work. Big hefty initial damage rate. So yeah, the spear should do, yeah, it does less damage, it's kind of obvious. But when I do a finisher, it just should, yeah, it killed him. That's cool. I'll probably even have to make the finisher damage stronger. But the issue is that the spear's finisher isn't that strong. compared to normal attacks, I guess. Huh. One thing I really like is throwing the spear. It feels really satisfying. The whole animation, throw. Anyways. Well, I'll definitely be releasing this. Well, I will be releasing this game on Steam. I also have an demo on itch.io, but not of this project, of the older project before. I probably have links somewhere on it. I'm not sure. And I will be releasing this on Steam. Actually, in the past, I tried to release my game on Steam, but I realized that I was only 17 years old at that time. And not only that, I didn't have uh, how do you call it in English? I just couldn't make a business legally. I didn't have the age for it, and also the low stuff behind it. So I was forced to retreat for some time. And currently what I'm doing is I'm trying to get a prototype ready. And I really want to make a Steam game, but I'll just have to take care of some, uh, the legislation stuff, so I can do that, which is gonna be weird because I have now some education in it, some experience, but I have never like gone for it straight up. So let's just do another attribute. I'll pull up my game design document once again. As I said, you cannot see the document because it contains some spoilers. And it's actually not that interesting, so you are not missing much. Of throw damage harder to aim. That's kind of interesting. Currently, there is this very weird attribute that increases the damage you do by throwing your weapons, but it slows down the weapon, so it's harder to aim with it. I kinda like the idea, so I hope it will work out. Hey, thanks for the sub. Anyways, I'll probably don't have any attribute already created for range, so I'll have to make a whole another class. Weapon attribute. What I'm gonna call it? Let's just call it throwing. It will be called throwing sword, throwing spear, whatever. But this will be only one-sided attribute. I won't be reversing it like other attributes, I think. Or maybe I could make it easier to throw but deal less damage. I'll see. I can make it and then just remove it later. One thing that I really have to be careful is to keep up the name correct. It always has to be weapon attribute underscore throwing, because that is the way the attributes are constructed. It's really fast, once again, very optimized, but I just have to be careful around it. I'm also using namespaces and such to make it a bit cleaner. Hopefully, I have some experience with not cleaning up the code. It usually leads to some pain. So attribute name, let's just call it throwing. Because one thing that I want to do is, for example, a weapon has buff damage and attack speed, no, buff damage and size. So it's not gonna be called a sword, it's gonna be called sharp throwing sword, let's say. It will have these prefixes in front of it. I'll show it later, but I just I don't want to be waiting for the compile. It's kind of annoying. Get description. There's no reason to be writing this from scratch, but why not? One thing I have to do is to generate the constructors because it will put me some errors. Generate all, nice. if I don't um, include these constructors in the code, it will give me some errors in runtime because it needs it to generate the attributes. But this is some deep coding stuff that nobody really should care about. Okay, throwing, lunging, whatever. Yeah, I'll worry about the names of the stream. There's no reason for me to be creative right now. I'll probably think about adding some background music in the future to these streams. Currently, I just wanted to make sure that the audio works and that I don't fuck up anything, which it seems like everything's working, so that's great. Upper damage values, let's call it throwing damage, plus, yeah, let's call it throw damage slash. I I thought about making this code a bit cleaner because it's really annoying to write all these brackets. It's kind of hard to read. And I also keep forgetting to multiply it by 100, so it's in percents and not in decimals. Thrown damage, and let's say slower projectile, slower speed. Uh, let's call it projectile speed. Yeah, let's just call it projectile speed. I can rename it later. I really need to find better ways how to label these attributes because this it's kind of hard to read, I guess. So we have throw damage and projectile speed. So let's say that we increase the damage by 0.15. I kind of like the 15, 13, and 45%. So I feel like the throwing weapons are already really broken in some cases. So I should really make it. So I really should make the projectile slower because there should be this huge drawback to it that you really have to try to aim it in the future. So let's say that the weapon is gonna be 20% maybe. Yeah, that should be good enough. But the thing is that I can't just slow down the projectile because the projectile lasts for 2 seconds. So if I slow it down, it would decrease um, the range it would reach. That's a very shitty way to say it. Man, I'm bad at explaining things. Never mind. Basically, what I'm saying is that I decrease the speed, I need to increase the lifetime, so the projectile travels the same range, but just in a longer time, so it's harder to aim, harder to hit something. So I'm gonna increase the damage. Quality of the dex, and I will have to decrease the projectile speed and increase the lifetime by the same amount, and that should about fix it. That's probably not how it works. Uh, let's just do it and I'll see the results. I don't want to really be stuck here thinking about that stuff. Values int quality.y. So the projectile speed is slower. Then by the same amount, I will have to wait a second. Did I remove the lifetime attribute? Yeah, I did. Well, let's just fix it. Adding another attribute, you can see at least how the attributes work. I will close this code so it's better visible. I have basically, it just contains each modifier. You can expect this to be percent, how much percent damage it increases, attack speed, knockback, stun, and it's all compact in this one class. It also has these custom operations, so I can easily add it together or subtract it from each other, and it's also easy to debug. It's just a very cool way to do things. To it's a very cool way to make my life easier, I'd say. That should be about right, I hope. Uh, I'll also add a debug value for it so it's easier for me to read. Right. So now I can, well, actually I just implemented the attribute, but it will do nothing as of now. Let's just call it mod lifetime. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna subtract, not increase, because I'm increasing by a negative number. So I have to flip it around. Man, this is some weird code. And let's just do values and validate.y. And that should about work. Next I have to go into weapon slash, and this is where I'm gonna apply the fixed lifetime. The thing that I'm currently questioning is I set the data and I calculate the attributes. So all I have to do really is just... Why am I copying attributes? Oh, I have to save them so they don't change during its lifetime. I guess that works. Then I just multiplied its lifetime by this lifetime and that should work, hopefully. I'll just check the stream if it works. Everything seems to be working. Great. Continue. I'll add the attribute here and I'll just test it out. So the projectile should do more damage, but should be a lot slower. So let's see. Knockback, regular damage. I actually haven't tested out the regular damage. Let's see. It seems like it's working. I'll definitely have to do a lot more testing behind these attributes because it's really easy to break something when the values are not displayed anywhere. There is basically no way to test it on the outside. You have to just test it in the inside of the code. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get the value. Drawing one, I don't want that. Hairless, that's such a weird name. Alright, this is not working, so I'm just gonna force the code to work with me. So I'm gonna remove all these attributes and I'm just gonna leave this little attribute here. So there is no choice. And there's an error, right? What did I do? 68, add new option run. Um, Oh, I get it now. Wait, wait, what? Like I'm getting that it's trying to. There are options. It picks random options and applies random qualities. So this just generates based on options. So what I have to do basically is just check if the options that count is great is 0. The issue here is that I'm trying to add 3 attributes to a weapon, but only 1 attribute exists, and you cannot have copies, you cannot have duplicates. So it's trying to get another attribute, but there is a null, so it breaks everything. And this way I should get around that issue. Yeah. Throwing one, throwing, well, why just one? Oh, I know what the issue is. I have done it once again with the uppercase, and that's gonna be really annoying in the future. I already see how I forget about this issue and it's just gonna ruin everything for me. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So now we have a throwing spear. It should do a lot more damage, but the projectile speed should be alright. Like, obviously the lifetime doesn't do justice. Maybe I could increase the lifetime by double the amount. I guess let's make a quick math, you know? Everybody loves some calculations. The projectile travels 10 meters and it travels it for 2 seconds. Then I go and decrease the projectile speed by half, so it only travels 5 meters, and based on the calculation, for 3 seconds, which means that the result is 20, and here it is 15. So how am I going to avoid this? Like, is there some easy way? I'm not really good at physics, to be honest. 0.5. Well, this would be fixed if I just doubled the increase. But if I made another situation where I don't increase it by 2, but only by if I decrease the value by 25%, it would result in 7.5 by that should be about 1.2.5, which results in. Do I want the exact number? Yes, I want the exact number. I'm gonna use a calculator. Fuck you. 7.5 times 2.5. 1870. So what I'm seeing here is that there is no correct approach to this. Because it all depends on the speed. Well, the only thing I can do here is double the lifetime increase. So in some cases, the projectile will actually fly farther than it would normally. And I'll just leave myself a note if I ever feel like fixing it later. I hate these kind of solutions. Projectile will travel less or more distance than it normally. Because I could avoid this, but I would have to change the lifetime in the attack itself, not in this attribute. And for that I would And for that, I would have to create a whole another um, attribute modifier, and that's something that I want to avoid for now. Fixed by making the attribute modifier. But overall, this is a solution for now. That's that's so fucking stupid. No. Alright, I'll have to fix the speed somehow because this sucks. But for now, just leave it be, I guess. But this truly ruins everything for me. I actually know exactly what type of modifier I could use to fix this issue. Like it works. And the damage is like crazy. Maybe too strong even. In some cases. It's kind of hard to say. Right, my computer is once again fighting for its life. Probably ruining the audio again. Let's just leave this property be, and I'm not gonna make a reverse out of it. Just because. I'll look into my game design document, see what's next. Damage, more recoil, move, fast health, stunt. This one would be kind of hard to program. Yeah. The next attribute I'm gonna implement is after you dash, you deal more damage, but if you don't dash for a long time, damage is decreased. So basically, you'll dash a lot when you have this attribute on your weapon. So once again, I'm kind of getting sick of this code, and I'm planning on adding another mechanic to this game, which are weapon enchantments, and they are kind of gonna behave similarly to this in some sort of way. But I don't really, I won't explain that for now. I'll probably explain it in the devlog, which hopefully should come to next week. I already have most of the script written. I basically have to finish this code here right now so I can finish the devlog. Dash, throwing, whatever. I'm starting to realize that making these prefixes will be somewhat impossible for me. Because there will be just so much names. Like, there's no way players will remember all the names. I guess they don't really have to. So increase. This is not gonna be a huge increase. It's just gonna be this small thing you can think about. So I'll just do this. No. Small damage decrease with a bit normal damage increase after dashing. So plus times 100%. What we are. This is kind of hard to put it into a very short sentence. Attacks immediately after dash. Let's just make it simple. Damage after dashing. To be honest, there is not much to say. This code, it's kind of just boring. Damage. Let's call it. I kind of want to say on consecutive attacks. How do you write the word, man? Kind of a hard word, you know? Consecutive. I'm using translator right now on the screen. Yeah, actually would write it correctly. Attacks. Great. Attacks. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna check for those consecutive attacks, but I'll see. Weapon start. Basically here I'm checking what was the last time the player dashed, and based on that I'm increasing the damage. So this works. This is already done. But checking for the consecutive attacks won't be based on the dash, but based on the last time you have finished your attack. So I'll have to go into entity info, which is this very simple class that just contains some information I can work with, like if he is stunned, last time he dashed. Most of this information are probably gonna be just for the player, but maybe some other entities will use it as well. Last attack. And time. Let's be very clear with the value. Now where is this value calculated? Player dash stay on exit, and yeah, I guess I can go straight towards player attack state. And when this ends, I can just, and this is just way too much information for me right now. Exit before exiting, right? Or after? I'll do before. Entity.info last attack and time, and just do time.time. And do I want to count throwing your weapons as an attack? I wouldn't count it. Consecutive attacks should be just pressing your mouse and just spamming it, not throwing your weapons, doing other stuff along with it. So this should work. And then what I'm gonna do is generator finisher. I don't need all this opened. Dash. This is kind of getting complicated, but I feel like these attributes will change how you will use the weapons. Maybe. So let's just say that if time.time is greater than entity.info plus attack and time, let's say that if you have made an attack, if you have started another attack after point, let's just say for start 3-5 seconds, just like the dash, then the damage will be decreased. But what I'm thinking is that I probably should make it into 0.5 seconds, so there is a bigger window for the damage increase. And what I'm gonna do straight up is just debug the mod so I get the values, so I'll see if it actually works. Well, I first need to add the attribute to the generator so it can be found. I'll probably need a break in a second. We'll see. Projectile size We have dash 3, more damage, less consecutive attacks. This is kind of confusing me, to be honest. I have a better way to approach this. I'll just go here and I'll say mod.debug and let's say dash. This is a special function that just makes debugging for me a bit easier. Consecutive. And it will only display message if something has been triggered by the code, so it's gonna be much easier to read. Dash damage, consecutive attacks. Let's see. I made 2 attacks after each other and their damage is increased. If I make an attack, wait, make an attack, that shouldn't count as a consecutive. I feel like the window has been long enough to the point where I shouldn't count it. Yeah, I guess. There should be a way to avoid that damage debuff by just being a little more patient with your attacks. Basically, this doesn't count as consecutive attacks. This does. Stop killing me, man. And after I dash, yeah, it's working. Let's go. That was much more simpler than I thought, to be honest. And to be honest, I'm kind of liking this, so I'm gonna make the vice versa attribute of this. Just flip it around. Weapon attribute, let's call it consecutive. That's such a bad name. Consecutive. Cool. I'll probably should make the C here uppercase, just so it's more visible. Right? Then I should flip these values around. How much stronger the consecutive attacks should be? I feel like I shouldn't go too crazy. I'll probably go with this irregular value of 0.8, 0.8, 0.16, 0.24. Even though I feel like 24% damage buff by just attacking, making attacks after attack is not a really good reward. But I guess you will be attacking often after dashing. So I'll leave this be, but I'll make the dash damage, the debuffed dash damage stronger by probably quite a lot. Man, balancing these modifiers will be quite a headache. Let's actually do 0.1, 0.2, and 0.4, so it's kind of more gradual scaling. I don't do that often with this with these attributes. I probably should though. Hope it's okay, it's working. Okay. And the values should be flipped. I just realized that probably when I'm flipping those values, I'm doing it wrong. Hold up. Well, in this case, I should check for last attack end time and last dash end time. Doesn't need to be here. That should work. I'll check the other attributes because I just realized that I maybe have ruined something. Yeah, even though I flipped the values, I'm still checking if the weapon is a finisher, so I'll just add an exclamation mark to reverse the value. So if it's not a finisher, it will do the extreme. Yeah, that's why the regular attacks and finishers still did. Well, that is why the finishers still did a lot of damage. I was looking at the value and I was just thinking, man, something is broken. And it was. That's cool, I guess. Nice flipped. This should work. It kinda is strange how coding works, that you suddenly just have this moment of realization that you have fucked up. What the... Wait a second. Is that correct? Yeah, that should be correct. Knockback, mod stand, mod knockback. That's... Yeah, that works. Alright, it seems that everything except that thing worked. This isn't even flipped. So let's add it to the weapon generation. Consecutive. Let's test it out. There is no more debugging, but I'll just probably see if it works or not. So we have consecutive 2, so I'll try attacking after dash. Yeah, I think it's working. Some of these attributes are gonna be really strong. Balancing this will be an issue. I guess I will pull up my game design document once more. One thing that I have added into the game recently is a recoil on your weapons. It basically pushes you back when you hit an enemy. And I've been thinking about making attributes that will make the recoil stronger or weaker. I just am not that sure. Basically, I'm actually kind of for fun, this is gonna be a fun attribute. Oh, but I'll have to make some other changes to it because it will be very, very weak. And that is, we have this move attribute and it increases the distance you travel during your attacks. So basically it increases your speed, which is very cool. But what I will do is that it will also increase your recoil. And I'm also gonna make this value a bit more extreme. Yeah, it works. So let's just copy some of the parts once again. There's no reason to be rewriting all of this. 0.2551f. 0.2. Well, here I am buffing also the recoil, so it won't be a negative value. And I'm not sure how much should I buff the recoil. Let's start by just 1.1. Then let's do 0.25 and just 0.5. That should about work. Right. Let's make the names working. quality that flex times 100% movement speed slash plus I'll have to add plus once again int quality y times 100. I actually just thought that I actually just kind of figured out a way how to do this cleaner in the code. But for now, I'm not gonna bother, I guess. Maybe when I'm bored, sometimes outside of the stream, because it's gonna be a lot of rewriting. Movement speed, and let's just recoil. Recoil. I might actually go like some extreme recoil and just add it, because this attribute, what it's gonna do is what this attribute is gonna do is that it's gonna make you super mobile, and that's not something that makes. I'm thinking fast that I'm speaking. That is not something that will make you stronger in any way. It will probably make the whole using your weapons much more chaotic. Yes, you will be moving all around the place, and that recoil will probably push you into some projectiles. But I just want to see it. It's gonna be this troll attribute, let's say. Kind of just to troll, mess with the player. So let's increase the move, and I probably don't have attribute for recoil, so let's add it. I'm really glad that I handled the attribute this way. It was one of my brighter moments of my life when I approached it like this. Public float recoil. I'm gonna separate it so it's more readable. Why is there another, like using um another line write this code in the debug? I'm not sure why, but I guess it's not such a bad idea. That should be about right. Now I can increase the recall attribute. I'm also thinking that by using this attribute, maybe your attack speed should increase, or your damage by just a small amount as a reward for using this thing, because it's gonna be really annoying. But first, let's just see how it works in code. But before that, I actually have to make the recall buffed. The issue is that this is the class that handles the recoil. Basically, um, yeah, this is a bit confusing. We have data, that data, speed curve, speed, trigger distance, handle entity. Well, all I really have to do is okay. I think that the data sets every time attack starts. Yeah. So all I have to do is get access to the last attribute mode. It's weird. I thought that I was making a copy of this. Am I making a copy somewhere? In editor. Oh. Well, I think that all I really have to do is just make a public data. I'm gonna make a function into which I will input the attribute modifiers, and it will return me another data that's adjusted, you know. It's gonna make it very clear. So apply mod, let's say, or yeah, apply mod attributes. This is quite confusing. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a whole another data with trigger distance, speed curve, and dir. What's wrong with speed? Okay, curve. But when I'm increasing the recoil, I don't want to make it longer, I'll just make it faster. So let's do times mod that recoil. I'll leave myself some note here so I understand clearly. Returns new data with applied attribute. Right. And now when I'm in the weapon and I'm setting this data, I can do current attack, the recoil, that apply mode, and I'll just input it plus attribute mode. Now the issue is there is actually no issue because it's called on weapon start, not on activate. So that's great. I'm thinking right now if this is the correct approach. Yeah, like I see no reason why not. So what I will do is that I will if data that then how am I gonna do this? Let's make it simple. The way I can test it out is just by getting the strongest version of the attribute and I'll see if it does something or not. There's not much reason to think about it. I've already included moves, so I'll delete it here so it doesn't make any issues later down the line. I'll check the recording once again. Everything seems to be working great. Okay, let's test it out. We have move 2, so we can see that the player moves quite a lot more during his attacks. And let's see how the recoil works. Like, works. Yeah, it works. Like there's... Oh, it's actually kind of cool. Okay. I'm kind of weird, and as I was testing it, I just realized another issue with attack speed behaving weirdly. And what I will have to do is not just scale up the animations, and instead of decreasing the animation speed, I will increase the animation speed so it looks normal. That's a very weird way to say it. Basically, I'll make the animation slower so they have more frames. So instead of decreasing their speed, they are by default decreased. And when I want to have a normal speed or faster, I'll just increase the animation speed. This way, the animations will still be smooth with having a lot of frames, enough frames. Uh, and still having the slower animations working. The thing is that the weapon movement or the movement you are doing isn't adjusted by the attack speed. Basically, the movement has to be slower and last for a longer time if the attack speed is slower. So it fits the animation. So I'm gonna make myself another node here in a bold so it's visible. Fix the weapon movement by multiplying it by attack speed. Lower attacks equal longer move with slower speed. That should be enough. This is becoming a very, very big issue, so I'll make it visible for me. I have some weird notes around here. I actually don't know what's written here. Probably some weird thing that nobody will understand. That defines me as a person, I guess. Yeah, that's cool. I would like to have a spear with move 3. Let's just roll. Let's go gambling. Ooh. Like I remember a spear being very weird with fast movement speed, but this is crazy. Like imagine you are a farmer, you are trying to rob someone, and this is what you meet. This guy that just fucking just flings at you. Like, damn. Go join an army or something, what you are doing on a road. Another very cool thing about movement speed buff is that when you are throwing weapons, you can control your movement. Normally you just move in the attack's direction, but while throwing, you can kind of move freely. The speed of your movement is kind of adjusted somewhat, so it picks up, so it starts slow and you get the momentum. But you can very clearly see this on the spear. Just look. That's crazy. One thing that I'm realizing is aiming on controllers is probably gonna be very hard. I'll either have to add some support, some aimbot that will help you aim your attacks or something. Another thing that is cool about these throwing weapons is that not only you can control your movement, but you can also change the direction during the throwing. So you can aim here and then just change the direction. That's really cool. I had to rewrite a lot of code, make it clean and stuff, so it's optimized and it works, whatever. I'm just spamming the words optimized after every sentence I mention some coding, but it's really something that you should watch out for, especially when you plan to make a finished project that actually is playable. So, alright, these moves, I don't see any reason why to add some extra buffs to it. It works good enough. For me, at least. Let's open up the game design document trademark. There are some other attributes like damage on stunned enemies. So therefore I would deal then less damage on enemies that are not stunned. However, that's kind of just maybe too specific, and usually enemies are always stunned when you attack them. So that property, that attribute, I don't really like it. I'll much rather go with this attribute. It's a really cool one. It increases your damage when you are on your last health, but decreases your damage when you are on full health or above 1 HP. I'm kind of debating on it. But I'm guessing only on full HP because that would be kind of just too useless, too annoying. But this attribute is gonna be very good, I guess, maybe for some speedrunners or something, because you're on your last health. So I'm gonna give you a huge damage boost, something of maybe like when you're playing a Dark Souls and you have the red ring, whatever it's called, it increases your damage by quite a lot. That's what I'm gonna do. You know, you can choose to play on your last health and have this insane damage. And I'm gonna do the same for full health. However, that will be much less rewarding, you know. It will be just a small boost and nothing else. And I probably don't even need to add negative side to it. Because you're on your last health, I'm not gonna punish you for being on your last health by even furthermore decreasing your damage. Or maybe I should, you know, because fuck you, you're having damage on full health. Having very weird conversations with myself right now. Anyways, I already have pre-written a script for this. So it's a very simple check. I just check if the player has 1 or below 1 health. And then I increase the health. One thing that I should mention is that I have recently been quite ill, so I'm not sure how my voice is holding up. Hopefully great. Great. Let's just um risky. I want to find some better name than last health, you know, that kinda sucks. But I guess I'll keep the attribute as it is because it's quite easy to read. Let's copy. Now I'll know exactly what it means, and then I can be like fucking risky, whatever, you know, risky. Um Suicidal. I probably shouldn't be saying these words on YouTube. Can you age restrict the stream? I'm really mumbling over my words right now. I don't think that you can age restrict your stream. Maybe. Last health, full health. Great. Mm, I'll just delete this. So as I was talking about the damage buff, I'll go immediately for a value of 15, then 0.3 and then 0.5. And I think that's more than enough. And I think that this looks more than enough as an encouragement to be on your last health. And then I'll debuff your damage on full health, which should just be... It's gonna be a very small debuff. I'm not gonna punish you for being full health with this weapon. That'll be kind of annoying. Names. I'm kind of getting sick of writing this code every time. It's kind of just repetitive at this point. That x times 100, so it's not in decimals but in percents, times damage on last health dash, and let's do the same but reversed. Int quality at y times 100% damage on full health. This looks hard. I guess figuring out the structure of this code was difficult, but now it's just a lot of repetitive code. And the only difficult part is the testing and me making accidental mistakes in writing, which, you know, I'm trying my best to not make them. So the name works, damage on last health, damage on full health. Why? Yeah, that works. it also works. So when you are on your full health, no, when you are on your last health, I'll apply the X value, I'll save, and when you are on full health, I have even a boolean for it, which I'm just gonna use that. Not damage plus. I just realized that I'm applying this damage buff when the projectile hits an enemy instead of when you start the attack. And I guess the question is, do I want the attack to deal more damage? Well, there is this scenario where I make an attack and I heal and then the attack lands and I made the attack with last health, so it should be applied, this damage buff. But since I healed, it won't be applied. I'm gonna... Why am I caring about this stuff? Let's just call it on weapon start. How is it called? Weapon attribute. Yeah, that should be good. Alright. This means that this isn't calculated every time a projectile hits something, but it's only calculated when the attack starts. Which I guess is something that I want. Inquality, and I'll immediately reverse this so that you have more damage on full health, and I won't debuff, or actually no, I will debuff last health. I'm really speedrunning here. I'm getting annoyed of looking at, always the same code. It's not like I'm arguing, like I'm making progress and it's kind of simple, but getting to me. And I can just switch this around, so alright. It's full health, current health, that seems to about work. I'll have to adjust these values. So as I said, I'm not gonna really reward you for being full health, that's not a risk. So I'll just make the reward, let's say 0.1, not even that much. Let's just do 0.8, 0.12, 0.16. It's probably gonna be one of the weaker attributes, but I just don't really see a reason why I should reward players for being full health. I guess that's good enough, and when you're on the last health, I'm gonna apply this small debuff. Just because, why not? Full health, last health, so everything should be in order, so I'll add it to the attributes I'm working with. And I realized that I probably should test these attributes separately because they will contradict each other, which will make it very hard to actually see if it works or not. And I probably should go in even as far as... Well, it's not gonna be that hard to test. Let's just start the game. So last health 2. I should do a lot more damage. So right now I'm on full health, so the damage should be a bit lower than normally. I have no idea if that was weak or not. But now I'm on my last health, so the damage should be increased. Does it feel increased? Whoa. Chill down. I should probably, for the testing part, increase my health or just make myself invulnerable, but I might as well just play my game. Yeah, the damage is much stronger, so let's flip it around, see how the full health behaves. Yeah, full health. So I should do more damage. Yeah, I kinda see it, and there is no way I will see that I have been lowered to that the damage was decreased. But I feel like that should have killed him, so maybe it was decreased. Cool. And throwing weapons is very fun and also really broken, especially with the other attributes I have added. Man, this is cool. I'm enjoying this. So that's another attribute down the list. Let's once again open my game design document, trademark, deluxe, whatever. You can see it because it contains some spoilers. So I have been thinking about this weird thing of increasing your damage but adding more recoil. There is already an attribute that increases the recoil, the pushback you take when you hit an enemy up close. But I feel like it would be kind of cool idea that there is this small damage increase and huge recoil increase. It would make the weapon really interesting to use, so I'll make it. Why not? Create a whole new attribute. Let's call it weapon attribute recoil. That should work. So it's basically gonna behave like some. It's a very weird comparison, but it's gonna behave like a shotgun. Will deal more damage, but it's gonna push you back. What am I doing? I'm gonna need a namespace for it. Right. So I'll include the constructors. I'm kind of confusing myself over here. Okay, let's call this property just recoil. And then I'm gonna save some time by just copying this. There's no reason why to rewrite all of that. So, recoil 1. I will find better names. I'm actually using prefixes uh, like heavy, massive, fast, whatever. But right now I cannot think about some weird prefixes for different qualities of recoil on your weapon because it's just too much. So I'm increasing damage and I'm also increasing recoil. Well, I'm gonna focus on the recoil and focus on the damage then. I'm kind of stumbling over my words right now. So let's say that the recoil increases by 0.2, 0.4, and 0.6. That's gonna be quite a huge increase. And the damage, let's just make it 0.5, which it's probably gonna be too weak, so let's say 0.7, make it cool. 0.14 and just 0.2, like there is no real drawback to the weapon. It will just push you away from your enemies. You'll see enough. You'll see soon enough what that means. But it's true that the damage should only apply when a recoil is triggered. Nah, I can't be bothered with that right now. I'll just make it work always. And because recoil only happens when you are close enough to the enemy when you hit him. So when you are very far away, it doesn't apply recoil because that would be kind of weird. Anyway, there's the recoil, there are the values. I'll adjust the description. And let's just call it plus recoil. And let's once again add a plus sign, 900% damage. And I'm not gonna specify that when recoil happens because that's not gonna do much. And then on the matter of the code, I could. Well, I'm gonna apply it on the weapon start. There's no reason why to calculate every attack. And let's just do mod that recoil plus equals values, get the right quality out of it and the x-axis. And then do the same for the y-axis, but with the damage. So that should work. Let's add it into the generator so I can test out the new property. This is a very weird idea, but I kinda like it, I kinda dig it. Let's see. Finally some gameplay time. I spent enough time in the code, I'm getting annoyed by it. So we have recoil 3, this is the maximum recoil with the maximum damage buff. Now I'm thinking that damage buff is still too strong because this recoil isn't that bad, to be honest. It's not that bad. It's actually kind of helpful even. I'll probably, you know... Okay, I'll do this. I will decrease the damage increase to 0.5, 10, and 15. But I will furthermore increase the recoil, so it's like extreme. 40%, 80%, and 120%. This should be cool. Or it was interesting. I don't know. Let's see. Recoil 1. Yeah, basically what this recoil does is that it just keeps you at a maximum distance away from your enemies. Which sometimes can even be helpful, sometimes not so much. What I want to get is recoil 3 so I can see its full effect. So I just have to re-roll until I get it. So here is a spear with a maximum recoil. Alright. I just realized something. When I am increasing the recoil, I should also increase the distance in which the recoil will happen, just because otherwise it will very rarely happen and that's kind of boring. So when I'm increasing the speed of the recoil, I'll also increase the trigger distance. Great. Now this should be much more reactive. Alright. Let's see. Whoa. Alright, oh, alright, that's... Damn. That's maybe too much. That's maybe just that's too much. Or actually no, you know what, I'm liking it. It's kinda cool. It's probably gonna be annoying when you get this attribute on a weapon, but I think there will be more than enough weapon drops and ways to remove these attributes later down in the game, to the point where you shouldn't really worry about it. And I feel like the damage increase is rewarding in some sort of way. And I'll just keep this B and then I'll rebalance it later. But certainly it's something interesting, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for something that changes how you use the weapon and how the weapon interacts with the surroundings, with enemies, whatever, you know, whatever. And the more interactions I can find where I just don't increase the damage, so you do more damage, then that's, you know, that's the best scenario, you know. I just want to find ways how to improve the weapons and change how you use them without just increasing your damage, because that's boring, you know. Increasing your damage doesn't really change how you use the weapon, just makes the killing of enemies faster, which doesn't necessarily make the game more fun to play, you know. Why am I dealing so much damage to them? Like, goddamn. It was probably attack interruption. And the recoil is very weird. I'm kinda trying to get used to it. It's not like it's annoying, it's just weird. I'm not sure if the damage buff is worth, but it's fine. I'm getting kind of tired right now. I'll see, I'll probably make one or two more attributes and then I'll head out. Mm, there is this one attribute in the game that does more damage to a specific entity type. Basically, you deal more damage to bandits or deal more damage to aberrations, which is the weird monster that's running towards you, or more damage to animals, which is gonna be useless right now because there are no animal enemies, just the sheep, which kinda just suffer there. So here is the entity type goat. It's kind of weird. Right now, I won't even bother with the names. I'll think up something later, but it's gonna be too long process for me. It's gonna just take way too much time, and as I said, I'm getting tired. It's kind of hard for me to speak right now. So let's just we have these values of the damage increase, and what I'm gonna do is that you will deal more damage to bandits, but every other entity type you will deal less damage to. This might be annoying, and I'll see how can I build the levels and the enemy generation around it so players don't feel like they just picked up the weapon that deals less damage to everything they will meet. But I feel like every location and every biome will have its bandits, its animals, and its monsters, you know? This combination, this holy trinity, whatever. Probably even some other things, but I feel like three enemy types or three entity types are good enough for now. So what I'm gonna do is that I will change this into read only float. Great. So let's increase the damage by 10%. And let's decrease the damage to other entities. And let's be very subtle with it. So let's only apply like 4% debuff. I feel like 4% debuff is fair. Then I will buff the damage by 20% and increase the damage to other entities by 8%. You know, I'll rebalance it later. And points. So I'm struggling with decimals and percents right now. So just ignore me speaking. And let's do 12%. This should be enough, so let's delete this. And let's just say plus values, get the quality out of it, x times 100, so it's in percents or percentile. damage to and then just say, and then I will just say that I'll use int quality that y times 100% damage to others. No, just other types generally. That should work. So all I really have to do is just check. And I'm gonna make a simple if statement. There's no reason to complicate it. So increase damage by, and if the target, that entity type, is equal to the entity type that this current property is trying to target. So for example, if it's a bandit, I will apply the X value. Otherwise, I will apply the Y value. I can just delete this, and the rest of the code doesn't need to be changed. I kind of was smart about it, thankfully. But it's true that I need some property name. Then how am I gonna do it? Let's just see how the entity types are named. Bandit, aberration, animal. I'm thinking about this weird approach. And I think that it should be possible because I don't really need to do all of that stuff I have been doing until now. All I really need to do is just make a private function, get name, I'm going to generate there's not much left for me to say. There's not much here for me to really talk about. It is all just boring code, getting annoyed of it. Weapon quality, so if it's gonna be rare, I want it to display the number 2, and if it's gonna be sharpen, then I will just display number 3. And then I can just structure the name of it. So I'm gonna start with the target type combined with, let's say, I just use word killer, let's be edgy like that. And combined with the quality text. That was a very weird load. I feel like in the way I just laughed. I don't know why I struggle with the way I just laughed. You can hear that I'm kind of ill and my throat is sore. Doesn't really matter. So this is gonna display bandit, killer 1, 2, or 3. I will add no spaces because that's the convention I've been following until now, and that's the name done. So I can just make this happen. What am I doing? Oh, I have a better idea. Imagine this. Instead of all of that, I'll convert the quality into an int, and then I'll increase it by 1. And this way I can avoid this whole if statement shtick. And I can even go as far as just copy this and put it into here. Great. Great, that's very cool. Nice. So it's gonna display bandit, killer, uh, quality number, and then it's gonna show how much the damage has just increased. And I'll probably should just test it out, so I'm gonna add it into the attribute generator. Let's remove the recall for now. And just add in bandit, and yeah, let's just stay with the bandit. I'll add the others just so I have them together. Aberration. Is it how you write aberration? I'm kind of confused over here. No, two R's, not two B's. Okay. And another word called animals or animal. I'm really struggling, man. I should have some better name. Oh, it's not that simple. It's actually bandit. It's actually bandit type. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, they have already been implemented in the code. So I'll just take this out, move it before here. That should work. Great. Let's test the bandit. I'm guessing if anybody is even watching what I'm making right now, that the code is very confusing and I'm just raving as some lunatic, whatever. So we have Bandit Killer 3. It worked. That's great. By the way, you can see that the font is broken. The font doesn't include numbers in it. I'll have to kind of trace around the font, basically sketch around it, copy the letters, and then using a software I'll add or I'll fix the numbers so they look correct. In the past I have already created my font once. It's a long process and I'll have to spend about 8 money, 80 euros, because I'm from Europe. Anyways, I should deal more damage to the bandits, which, yes, it's true. And I'll try to spawn well, I'm probably dealing more damage to the sheep, but what about aberrations? I just realized that I have forgotten to actually program the part where it deals less damage. Well, no. I'm kind of stupid, it's already made. Cool. Well, since it has been made, I can just... I'll see, I'll do one more property, and then I'll maybe just say some things and end the stream. Dash damage finisher. I feel like I'm looking at my game design document and I'm actually kind of impressed because I've I've actually done everything. Damn. I made every attribute I had planned. Well, I guess then it's time to delete the old attributes. I won't be needing damage. Deflect damage isn't included right now. What about it? For now, I'll leave the deflect damage be deflect damage. I won't really bother. So let's remove damage. Interruption. I'm kind of scared that I will remove something that I shouldn't. I'll go one after one. I won't be needing damage and I won't be needing interruption. Interruption is, by the way, a special mechanic in my game that increases the damage you deal to an enemy when you hit him while he is attacking. You know, basically you interrupt his attacks and deal more damage. This rewards you for being aggressive, and instead of dodging away from his attacks, you just hit him, you know? You just hit him before he does. And you deal more damage, you know? And that's good enough reward, I think. Next, I can remove the wrench. Yeah, remove wrench. This is just gonna be auto recompiling because I don't want to delete accidentally some important code. It would be kind of annoying to recover it. The size, yeah, I won't be needing that. Standard damage, I'll probably not make I'll avoid making an attribute that increases damage on stunned enemies. I just think that's usually enemies are always stunned when you're attacking them. And if an enemy cannot be stunned, then that attribute is just useless, which is gonna be true for probably every boss in the game. So, or even mini bosses. So we have throwing, recall, move, long, last health, knockback, heavy, finisher damage, anti-type, dash, and the deflect damage, which for now I'll leave as it is. Yeah, I will just fix the name so it displays itself correctly. So we are gonna call it deflect, and let's just convert the quality into an int and increase it by 1 to display its quality. And let's also change this so it follows the same convention as the other descriptions. But what did I just write? Times 100%, not 1,000, damage. Uh, Deflected projectile damage. Yeah, that works. That works. Flag, deflect projectile. The values are about correct, I guess. Deflecting projectiles is not that hard in my game, and with some attributes, it's basically impossible to make, to miss a deflect. Whatever. Now I can go into the weapon attribute generator and implement all of them together. So I will be needing the damage, interruption, wrench. If I leave some attribute that doesn't exist, it will just give me an error, so I don't really have to worry about leaving something here. But yeah, I won't be needing the size, the stun because it's already there, the stun damage. We have the recoil. Alright. Heavy, light, long, tick, knock, stun, finish damage, regular damage, throwing, dash, consecutive, move, last health, full health, recoil, bandit type, dash is already included, deflect damage, let's put it at the bottom, last health, full health, bandit type, aberration type, animal type, finish damage already exists, knockback already exists, last health already exists. So there should be exactly 12, 18, 19, I guess. I'll count it just in case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Let's go. And let's see if it actually makes sense. So 2, 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19. Let's go. I didn't fuck up anything. I didn't fuck up anything that's like a record for me at this point. Let's try it out. So let's try out the weapons, and I'll start with a low value. So there's gonna be fewer attributes with less quality, and then I will just go crazy. Let's see. We have stun 2 and throwing, so this weapon will stun for a longer time. Yeah. And the throwing should deal more damage, but should be slower. even though it doesn't seem that slow, but yeah, it kinda is. I will be fixing some of the hitboxes, they sometimes behave kind of weirdly. And for the speed, we have increased finisher damage and a better range. I feel like range is kind of just too broken in this game. Especially when throwing projectiles, because the spear like goes really far, you know. It's like shooting a gun at somebody, really, you know. Or shooting a bow, let's say. Let's be in medieval age right now. And the normal attacks don't deal as much damage. I have just died, alright. Next we have regular damage, throwing, recoil. I'm kinda interested how this will. 50% damage. Are you crazy? What? There's no way that recoil 1 does 50% damage. What did I do? Oh, I forgot to add a 0. So it's been, instead of 5%, it has been 50%. Yeah, damn. As a matter, it has been fixed. So now we have better stun, with less knockback. Yeah, that works. Extended, so we have more range and better finishers. Yeah, they seem better. Let's try out other weapons. Aberration Killer, light, faster attack speed. The fast attack speed is cool. The slow attack speed needs to be fixed. I kinda talked about this like 5 times at this point. Nice. What I'm going to do is, currently I'm generating the values, and I'm using a kind of low value to generate low value attributes. So what I'm gonna do is that we have here a player spawn somewhere. Where is it? Where is the... Do I have a player spawn? I'm now confused. Like, is something a refer... just for a heads up, the way I spawn the player is by using this object that spawns him and sets data for him. Apparently there should be a spawn for him somewhere. I'm guessing that I have put it into a room or something. Let's check out the rooms. No. Oh, hey. Yeah, I'm right. It has been accidentally put somewhere where it shouldn't be. So now I can, in the player spawn, increase the value of his. So I'll go straight towards the max, which should be 3 times 3, I think. So 9. Yeah. And now we have the most extreme cases. So we have finisher damage, stun, and throwing. So this sword is basically useless. Yeah, this sword, like, it does a lot of damage. Wait a second. Oh, oh, yeah. The throw attribute doesn't apply these stats to just the throw attack, but to every attack. So even normal attacks that shouldn't be affected by it are affected by it. So um how am I gonna avoid this? I guess I could just say weapon that is throwing. I'm confused. Like, I think I have already messed around with this a bit, or did I? I'll quickly check my GitHub. I'll see if I'll see any change in the code. It seems like before I didn't have anything that was specific for thrown objects, so there's not much for me to get around it. Alright, I look into the weapon, and when I start a throw attack, why is it private? I know that in one case I'm checking if current attack is a throw attack, and I want to make a boolean for it, which is gonna be quite simple. I just need to find out where the throw part actually is. So I'm gonna find all references for this object, and yeah, this is it. I'm checking if the current attack is a throw attack. So I'm gonna make a very straightforward boolean for it, so it's easy for me to read. And that's gonna be public bool is throwing, which is gonna return if current attack data equals throw. I'll leave myself a note. Right. Now I can go back to here and I can just go straight forward this throw attack. Alright, and I can do the same for this attribute. Let's call it if weapon is throw attack. And in this case, I just want to test it out so it doesn't trigger accidentally. I'll leave myself a little note here. Okay. Dash full health, aberration killer, whatever. And figuring out the names is gonna be a nightmare. And what I say that I've forgotten to set the names to uppercase. So I'll have to go back. Anyways, now the spear should behave normally. And when I try to throw it, it's going to go slow, but since it has a range attribute, it's also going quite fast. So it seems like it's working. This is kind of weird, to be honest. Well, it's certainly working. It's kind of broken, but it's certainly working. Nice. Even the note has been triggered. Or wait, I have to make absolutely sure that the note is only triggered when I throw a weapon. 1, 2. My computer is once again screaming for its life, right? But I need to get the attribute. This is kind of annoying. Okay. So the spear shouldn't write anything, and now it should write. And when I pick it up again to attack, it works. Let's go. Other than that, well, I guess that's everything. You know, that's every attribute. What I will do is I will just quickly fix this because I forgot to set these things to uppercase. So dash to upper, deflect damage, the same. Wait a second. Like, how do I do that? Man. Well, I just brute force it right now. Deflect. Entity type, that doesn't work, right? I'll once again just brute force it, and I'll turn this to uppercase. I'll cast it to string, or actually I'll just call this, I just call this function to string, and I'll set it to uppercase. Great, that should be working. Finish damage is done, heavy, done, knockback, done, last health, not done. Alright, long, done, move, not done, recoil, not done, throwing, done, and that should be about everything. So let's just check out if it still works. Man, I'm really hating the slow attack speed. I'll either have to really nerf it or just make the animations longer, as I mentioned. So we have move, throwing, whatever. What I've been talking about? Yeah, I've been fixing the attribute names. The spear is really interesting. It will have like extreme attack speed, extreme recoil, and man, that's convoluting. I don't like the contradictions. I'll have to find a way. I'll probably make it right away. You know, just yeah, when I get heavy, I won't be able to get light attribute because it's really bad when I increase damage and decrease attack speed. And then you have an attribute on the same weapon that increases the attack speed and decreases the damage. It's just convoluting. I think that's how you use the word. I just like to say it out loud. So when I'm picking up the options, I am not just taking the options, but I'm also... Alright. I have a very weird idea of how to do this. This is stupid. Anyways, what I'm gonna do is I will create a private struct, which will contain data. And I'm gonna say, what are they gonna be? Item. Yeah, let's just call it item. It doesn't need to be crazy. And this item is gonna contain an array of string called items. And then what I will do is that I will pick up, I will make a return function called get random. I will kind of combine that with regular get function items int index. Great. That should about work. This is the weird way to get around the issue. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a pairs. I'm going to create these pairs of heavy and light, long and thick. Basically, these opposite attributes. And what I'm gonna do is that I will only pick one out of the pair, and the other one will be ignored when generating the stats. This way, I should get around the issue of having the opposite attributes on the same weapon. And it also, once again, will be as optimized as it can be, and also organized, and all these buzzwords, whatever. So I'm gonna need to make a constructor with a custom array. called, what am I gonna call it? Just items. And then I'm going to make another constructor that's gonna make my life easier. It's gonna have just one string called item, and it will go into this other constructor. I actually don't know if you can cancel if you can how do you call it? If you can recurve forward. I guess let's call it forwarding. I don't know if you can forward constructors, but let's just try it out. I'm gonna make a new string array and put an item in there. And it seems like it has an issue. Yeah, that isn't possible. But thankfully it's not a huge hassle. All I really have to do is just call this that items equals new array and just put there what I'm gonna put there. The item. That's done. There doesn't even need to be this. And I can do the same by allowing the player to put item 1 and item. Actually, not allowing the player, just allowing myself. I'm making my life easier over here, not necessarily the players. Item 0, item 1 is done. Can I do that? Is it possible? Oh, you can. Oh, that's great. That's great. Cool. And now all I really have to do is make another static read only, but this time not string array, but item array. Let's call it items. Is there something else that is called items in this class? Here. That sucks. Attribute items, item names, pairs, groups. Yeah, let's call it groups. Attribute group. I feel like I will know exactly what that means. And I'll even leave myself a note just to be sure, because sometimes I forget. Used to put opposite attributes into a pair to make sure that only one of them is picked. I hopefully that is good enough, for me. Let's call it an array of attribute groups. Let's call it groups. New array. And let's add in the object. So what I will do is I will create new objects here and I will put their names. So the first pair is gonna be heavy and light. Why is there an error? No best type. Well, I guess I just have to define it then. Right. And this is what I'm gonna kind of just do for the rest of the attributes. Make these groups. So long, these are convoluting. I'll make spaces here so it's a bit more readable. Next is knockback. And knockback. Stun. Next is I'm just checking. Alright. The next is finisher damage. And regular damage. Next one is there's not much pairs left. Health and full health. I have to be careful because if I mess up even one letter, it breaks. That's the fun of coding. This is actually really cool because it's not just a pair, it's actually a triple. whatever you call a pair that's out of 3 elements. So I'll make myself another constructor just so it's a bit easier. Item 0. I know there is a better way to do it, but right now I can't be bothered, and I'll just uh brute force it like this. Right? So I can say bandit type, aberration type, and animal type. Animal type is probably one of the most useless attributes you get in this game. Yeah, definitely the most useless. But does it really matter? Next we have dash consecutive. Consecutive. It's a good thing that I'm writing this today because currently I remember every opposite attribute, so it's much easier. So we have heavy light. Now I'll start deleting the ones that I've already excluded. Heavy light, long tick, knockback stun, regular damage, finisher damage, consecutive and dash, full health and last health, and animal type, aberration type, and my type. And there are 4 left over, so when I count it together there should be 19 attributes. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, 15, 19. Great. And these are singles, so all I have to do is just make them like this. The great thing about this is that it's great thing about writing the code like this is that it's really easy to read. It's easy to expand when I actually add opposites to these attributes, or you know, just want to change something. So I'm really proud about the code structure I have made. So they should be 19. I've probably messed up some name. I'll just check it quickly. No, everything seems to be correct. It's kind of cool. Sadly, that isn't me done yet, at least. What I'm gonna do is we have generate qualities. This generates qualities. This generates. Oh, I get it now. It's a bit confusing. But I'm gonna need attribute groups here. Alright. Just some naming conventions. It's just some naming conventions so it's easier for me to read in the future. I'll just drink some water. Alright. Okay. I'll check if the recording is okay. It works. Okay, let's go. So what we are doing right now is that we are picking out of the options, out of these groups, and making sure that the group doesn't repeat, and also making sure that an item inside of the group doesn't repeat. So thankfully, I made the code so it's really easy. All I have to do is just take the options, input a ran, and I just say get random, and that's done. If I have not messed up anything, that should be done and should be working. So let's see. There should be no contradictions anymore, I'm hoping. Recoil, move, needle, deflect, initiative. Yeah, that seems about fine. So the spear has stronger deflective projectiles. Yeah, that's true. Does less regular damage, but its finishers are really strong. That's also true, even though the spear's finishers are not the best for this damage upgrade. And the recoil should also be extreme, which it is. The same for the sword. The sword is boring. I want some very interesting. Yeah, this is cool. Massive sword. Deflect. No, that's kind of boring. You know, we're just gonna have a small range, deal a lot of damage to bandits, and when I throw it, look what happens when I throw it, man. That's so stupid. I'm not sure if I should increase the weapon size by so much, but currently I just find it really comical that you just throw this sword at someone. Like, imagine they just throw a sword at you that's your size, even larger than you. I really will have to kind of fix the size. That's kind of just, you know, currently I don't really care. Oh, the spear is cool. The spear is cool. It has better movement, more recoil, better stand, which is kind of boring. I would prefer knockback. And finisher damage. Once again, probably one of the worst stats you can get on spear. And since the spear doesn't do a lot of knockback, it's actually kind of hard to stay on the enemy. And I must say, I'm really enjoying the extra movement you get through that attribute. I thought that the attribute would be boring and not very strong, but it's actually kind of useful. You just have to think about it happening, you know, that's not really something that you get used to. And it's also really cool when you are throwing the weapons. However, what you are currently seeing are the attributes at their maximum quality, so they are the most extreme as they'll ever be. I'll kind of just summarize it like that. Well, I think this is a great point, you know, a great way to end the stream by just, I guess, me stepping into a trap and dying. So yeah, thank you for watching. It's been kind of fun. I'm actually surprised that I managed to get all the attributes done in quite a short while, even though I've been streaming for almost 3 hours. So thank you for watching. I'm currently working on finishing a devlog, even though I'm just writing a script for it, but you know, somewhere around the next week a new devlog should drop, and I'm kind of excited about it. Even though you have already noticed most of the new stuff, probably, it's still, you know, I'm still gonna go into more detail on the actual devlog, so maybe stay tuned for it or whatever. And yeah, thanks for watching. And now I'm gonna figure out how you end the stream. Seems like this should do it. Bye bye. And